Yes, and welcome to KRUU's newsroom. Well, the studio, actually. Welcome, Fairfield Media Center in the house with Jason Strong. Also, Michael Halley joining us from, well, not straight from City Hall, but pretty close. Another session last night. Michael is the 4th Ward City Council person. We appreciate you very much spending a few minutes giving your take on what went down. And great to see you. How are things going and what went down?
Great to see you. Things are going well. And here is an informal review of our regular City Council meeting from June 12th, 2017. We didn't have any public appearances.
Wow. That's fairly unusual.
It happens. So we jumped right into our resolutions, action items, and ordinances.
Okay.
The first was a little thingy, just a little acceptance of a settlement. So the city is part of a pool for insurance with this company that apparently the state said was not making it explicitly clear on their invoices what their commissions were. So they made them settle, and we got a little over $28,000 in a settlement. And it was just based kind of class action, like everybody involved. We didn't have to do anything. We didn't file it. The state did. So we're just basically the recipients of some little, and it could have been a very innocent mistake that they just simply should have listed but didn't. There may have been no wrongdoing, but sometimes when a court case goes on for years and starts to hurt the image of the company, they'll say, all right, let's just settle this and move on. So that's what happened. We got the settlement. So we'll put that $28,000 in the fund for the insurance, and then that's that much less that we have to levy or take from property taxes next fiscal year.
Great.
All right.
A boon.
Yeah, a little boon. Sometimes unexpected. It's always nice when it happens, rather than the other way around.
Yes.
Unexpected expenses, which seem to be more common than unexpected income. All right. We approved the contract for bid package number 2 for the wastewater treatment plant.
Bid package number 2.
Bid package number 2, Equalization Basin Project. So Carl A. Nelson was the low bid on that.
Okay.
And so that's just one of the many upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant. It's a second, as it sounds. Equalization Basin is it's for overflow. So when heavy rains come in and the plant can't process everything, the rain isn't supposed to go into the wastewater, but it does. It's called infiltration. And so when the stormwater gets into the wastewater and overwhelms the plant, it can divert the untreated sewage into a lagoon and then treat it as time allows. And so I'm not actually sure if that's what the Equalization Basin is, but that's my memory of what it is. So more on that later.
And hopefully we will get rain sometime soon.
Yeah, there's some talk tomorrow, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, it's been dry.
I know. I've been out watering some of the trees I planted this spring, and they need a lot. It's amazing how the ground just soaks it right up. All right, so this was a little bit of a juicy topic, but really not that juicy, because once Councilwoman Katie Anderson proposed an amendment, it seemed to appease anyone in the crowd who was about to speak out against it, and it had to do with the fireworks ordinance. So the state changed the law. So state law allows for sales and then allows for the fireworks to be set off. Essentially, I'm going to paraphrase, I don't have the exact dates, but essentially most the month of June and into the first week of July, and then again a lot of the month of December. And so cities have the right under home rule to make their local ordinances more strict, but can't be less strict than state and federal law. So a number of cities were restricting that window of when they can be set off. Some just said, actually, none. You can't at all in this city. Now, we didn't go that far.
Which you can do. A city can do that.
You can do by law. But in this case, the Public Safety and Transportation Committee looked at it, and 2 members, Katie Anderson, who's the chair, and Doug Flournoy is also on there, worked out an amendment, which they proposed and was passed, was accepted and passed. Still got one more reading. So the next council meeting on the 26th will be the final reading. But the amendment shortened that window to the Sunday prior to July 4th through the Friday prior to July 4th through the Sunday after, but no later than July 8th, because that's the state. We can't extend it further than the state. So the state cuts it off at July 8th. The idea being, let's say 4th of July falls on a Wednesday. Some families would want to celebrate and launch some fireworks the weekend before, and others maybe the weekend after. And so we're trying to make that the window. So the Friday before to the Sunday after gets both those weekends, except for not past the 8th. So if
4th of July celebrations end up being on the 7th or 8th or whatever.
Well,
which probably never happens.
Yeah. So and we couldn't do anything anyway because state wouldn't allow it. So that was the amendment. And then it shortened the window around New Year's to the 2 days prior and the 2 days following, rather than most the month leading up to. So,
well, those are pretty big changes.
Yeah, they're pretty big changes. They match closely to what other cities. There's not any cookie cutter of what other cities are doing. But I'd say a good majority of them are limiting it.
Pardon me. Are there that many? I don't ever recall that many fireworks for New Year's Eve. I guess
I know
they happen somewhat.
I suppose, but that was what the state law allowed for, considering I suppose those were the times of year that people would be most wanting to launch them.
Right.
But yeah, it's usually pretty cold. You know, not something you want to stand around and watch for too long. But and then the time of day is extended on the 4th and on December 31st. So you can launch them a little later that day than the other days. But it's still, there's a lot of time for launching fireworks. So going from
how late
illegal,
is it for July 4th, for instance? Because, I mean, it gets dark later in July, of course, than January. Do you remember that offhand?
I'm going to try to find it here. Well, this doesn't have the amendment, so but I think the time stood in terms of time of day. Okay, so the state law was June 1st through July 8th, 9 a.m. till 10 p.m., extended to 11 p.m. on July 4th only. So I believe we kept that extended to 11 p.m. on July 4th. We limited it, instead of all the month of June through July 8th, the Friday before through the Sunday following 4th of July, but not past the 8th.
Okay.
And they had December 10th through January 3rd from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., extending it to 12:30 a.m. January 1st.
Which makes sense because actual New Year's is celebrated with the whole thing.
So we shortened that to the 30th, 31st, 1st, and 2nd, 9 till 10, with that same extension till 12:30 a.m. January 1st.
All right, thank you for that. Yeah.
Yep. So anybody wanting to comment on that or talk to their council person, do so before our last and final reading on this. We'll vote on it, and that'll be June 26th, a regular city council meeting that Monday night. You can also come to the meeting. There's always a public hearing preceding any vote. We had people in the audience, I think, were interested in this, but maybe upon hearing that amendment, they decided, hey, sounds good to me. I'm just going to sit here and let it happen.
So they may have been concerned that it was a wider scope.
Yep. I know one person in the audience who'd sent everyone an email was concerned, but I did not get to speak to the gentleman afterwards. He left before, but perhaps he was happy with the amendment.
Okay.
All right. These next two items have to do with a kind of exciting project. The history of it was back in 2010 when there were stimulus funds. Remember that? Yeah. Stimulus funds from the government for mostly infrastructure projects. The city, Fairfield, put together some specs for converting South Highway 1 or South Main in town from Fillmore to where about kind of in front of the hospital where it starts to get wider, from 2 lanes to 3. So similar to Burlington, 2 lanes with opposing traffic with the turn lane in the middle. With a sidewalk on one side, 5-foot sidewalk on one side, and a 10-foot paved trail on the other side. So really increasing access, not just for vehicles, for pedestrians and cyclists from Fillmore, kind of the edge edge of where the sidewalk ends. Not to quote the famous poetry book, but you know what I'm talking about. So there's no sidewalk going south, so people can't walk or bike safely or comfortably to, say, the hospital or anything that's now down there that wasn't there before. So now we have the hospital. Now we have a gas station. We have a bank. There's, if you see down there, some construction going on, so some housing by the bank. So at that point, we were denied no grant funds for you for that project at that time. And it kind of stayed in the back burner. And I think we talked to the DOT about it 2013. And again, it was not taken on. And then it was brought again. And they voted today. I don't know the results, but the DOT included that upgrade in their 5-year plan, contingent on the city paying for a portion of it. But the portion was a much smaller portion than some of the previous talks. They wanted the city to pay for $1 million, and now it's in the hundreds of thousands. But a portion of the city's payment is coming from a grant that the city won that was going to be to pave the shoulders. That was about as much as we thought we could afford to try to make it a little bit more pedestrian friendly. And now we are putting in, that's one of the requests, putting in a request to be for the DOT who gave us that grant, and it actually was applied for years ago, and this is the year that it's available. We're asking to switch the use of it. It's a TAP grant, and we're saying, hey, can we, instead of doing those paved shoulders, can we apply that towards our portion of this project? That was $320,000.
Which you would think would be a no-brainer, but not a no-brainer, but would be something
acceptable.
Would be
yeah. So hopefully that's fine. Then
cool.
So then that took.
Well, it seems like infrastructure is coming back on the national agenda again.
Yep.
So maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Well, then for the remainder of the balance outside of that, the city has STP funds, and that's a federal funding for certain corridors in the city. And we get about $200,000 into that fund each year. We have about $600 in there. And so we'd spend some of that towards this because this is considered one of our major thoroughfares. And then I think we have to come up with $140,000, which probably can come out of our road use tax or something that would make sense.
But that'd be a nice upgrade, wouldn't it?
It really would be.
That part's becoming, a bigger entranceway.
It's becoming busier. And to me also just that adding that pedestrian and cycling aspect to it is worth the money we're paying. So just to get that whole upgrade. So just one quick note, at the intersection of Fillmore or South Main and Libertyville Road, one proposed idea is a roundabout, but it's going to be the DOT who makes the final decision on what's there.
Be just like France.
Well, they have a roundabout in Mount Pleasant.
Yep, there's also one
around Ottumwa.
Yeah, near Cedar Rapids up there, I think.
Yeah, so apparently I've read about them. According to the studies, they move traffic more efficiently and more safely. They cost more to construct, but there's less maintenance than stoplight signals. So we'll see. That's out of our hands, but it'll be interesting. But let me just say, this is all scheduled for 2021. So don't get too excited right now. It was part of a 5-year plan. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll all come together. But it's a little ways off.
So you have a little time to count your chickens.
That's right.
Wait, I'm not sure that's a good metaphor or not. But speaking of not sure if it's a good metaphor, this is James Moore. We're with Michael Halley, talking about city business like we do after each city session, almost every city hall session. Also, Jason Strong in the house with Fairfield Media Center, always doing the great work there, giving you a chance to catch up on the latest haps from City Hall, and we do appreciate that very much. You can hear it here at KRUU-FM, 100.1 on your local FM dial, the day after Tuesday, 12:30 lunch, or Thursday dinner, 6:30 p.m., the following Monday, breakfast time, 6:30 a.m. So get you caught up with what's going down at City Hall. And anything else there on the docket?
Yeah, a couple of things. The property committee met yesterday prior to the council meeting to consider two separate possible land donations or donations to the city. First, I'll talk about the one that we decided to pass on. It's been discussed for a little while. Fairfield Castings has some land where they've been putting a sort of sand ash is what I've told it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's by 23rd Street, kind of north of Dexter soccer fields. And they want to donate that to a nonprofit. And they approached the city. The property committee had a number of questions about it. One of which was we asked our park and rec, because that's what I guess would be used for the parks department or used by the parks department. We asked our park and rec superintendent, Calvin Todd, to do a little research on 3 area soccer/baseball complexes that other cities have. And he called all 3, and they all are organized by nonprofits, not the city. And that was the direction we were leaning, that if somebody wants to take the land and develop it into softball, baseball, soccer, whatnot, that could be handled by Babe Ruth and Little League and all these groups that organize such things. Now, there's a little bit of a time crunch for, I think it's Babe Ruth, and they're the older children, mm-hmm. and they have a diamond on the Jefferson County Fairgrounds. The Fairgrounds Board has asked them that they're going to move that. They're going to
it's so
use
beautiful.
that space for something else.
So beautiful there.
Yep. So they got to find a new place to dwell.
Doing song quotes there.
Yeah, I like the quotes are coming out.
I feel like putting the music on behind you.
Yeah, right. Maybe our post-production. So that's why they're somewhat feeling rushed. Like, well, we got to find a spot. So the committee, actually one of the committee members who was actually in favor of the city getting involved, said, if we officially say no thanks, maybe that'll help the company realize we're not really going to be interested, so then they can start working with the nonprofits. So we did, as a committee level, we're not going to bring this to the council. We're not going to consider this donation. But another one we did bring to the council, and we did consider a little smaller. So where the Tribune building was, mm-hmm. there was a building that started to collapse and was then torn down.
Right.
And now it's an empty lot. So there's a local gentleman who wants to purchase it and build a parkade as a memorial to his late wife. Huh. And
what did you call that? A
parkade, I guess is what the official name is. Like a small park, but not ripping out the cement, but instead paving it, putting planters, benches, tables.
But not parking.
No. Explicitly not in the agreement. It cannot ever be used as a parking lot.
Okay. Just because you said parkade, I went,
yeah.
Okay.
Parklet.
Yeah.
Small park.
Gotcha.
Urban park. Mm-hmm. Little park.
Which would be nice, space.
Yeah. So, and the donor's willing to pay for the land and all the expenses to create the parkade, parklet, small park, whatever you want to call it. And this is what I really appreciated, with in mind low maintenance cost. So not trying to create something extravagant. For example, one idea somebody floated by and was a fountain or a wall of water, and it's like, yeah, that would be really beautiful, really expensive, and really hard to maintain. So it's just going to be solid surface, maybe concrete planters with different types of plantings in them, but just nothing that would overwhelm our parks department. I don't know if you talk to our parks department, they probably don't even like the idea of having to take another thing on, but we have a number of volunteers that help with these things. I've adopted a few nodes downtown that I'm supposed to keep weed free. And
right. Well, the city beautification group committee too. I mean, what a nice thing for, anyway, next, it's sort of been that anyway, kind of.
It's been used for interesting. Yeah. It's, a local DJ sometimes sets up there for First Fridays, but lately people have been parking on it illegally.
Yeah.
And, it's, this gentleman would really rather see it be used as a community space, but not for vehicles. Mm-hmm. He likes the idea of that a potential stage could be brought in for little performances.
Right.
But doesn't really want to build a permanent one.
One of the Fairfest years had acts going back and forth when the main stage stopped, and then it started there. It was quite a nice...
I think that might have had that idea of, okay, this could be for music and such. So we may see it be developed yet this year. Depends, on how everything unfolds. But the city needed to show, yes, we are interested in this.
Cool.
To get the process moving. So we did.
Great. I just wanted to bring one other thing up. It just flashed on me. John Revelinsky, one of the city council members, losing his wife, Christina, and just wanted to, not do a shout out, but express condolences. I'm sure you all. Yeah. It's her passing is something that I know touched a lot of lives in this community and whatnot. I think there's services coming up on the 17th for her. But I just wanted to mention that. Also, Gertie Leet, and passing away as well, one of the co-chairs of the media communications department I worked with for many years. But anyway, I just wanted to mention something about that.
We Mayor Malloy sent out a message letting the entire council know, and I think most, if not all of us, sent condolences. And John wasn't there last night. I think he needs some time. And Christina was really great woman. She actually planted the seed in my brain to run for city council. We were at some event. She's like, you should do it. You should do it. So thank you for that. And I know her son's back in town. And who's had been a show host here, a very accomplished guy, Donnie. Yeah.
DJ Revo, for those who may remember back here. But anyway, we wanted to extend our condolences at this time in this setting as well. Yeah. But any final notes?
It's hard to follow that.
Yes, it is.
The mayor just talked about that we had this architectural volunteer group that the CVB and the city hired to come to town, and they came to look at wayfinding, which a lot of us thought was like, we'll put this sign here and put this sign here, but they took a much broader view, and their presentation will be, the council and the city will organize a time to make that public, where a couple of the members will come back from Des Moines and present it. And it's really interesting. They have some very good ideas, not just for our entryways, but they heard over and over downtown. And so they have some ideas for downtown. And it's great to bring in people who aren't from where you are.
Yeah, different eyes.
And look at it with different eyes and say, how could this be friendlier to visitors, friendlier to people? And so looking forward to that. And
well, let me just say the facade project's certainly moving along. Yep. And the little area out in front of the new Shokai, man, you could think you're in Berlin or Paris or something. No, it's just got a nice feeling. Although when it's still above 80 at 10 at night,
it's a little hard.
Like, but also I think Cafe Paradiso now getting their
outdoor dining. Yep.
And so it's a nice feature. It looks like it's just a nice touch. Yeah, you have to walk a little bit around it, but it feels just like a little bit more, I don't know what, but just a nice feeling to be able to be outside.
Yeah, we worked hard on that ordinance. One thing that we noticed was that we had a minimum requirement for keeping the pathway open, but vehicles pull up and take some of that away. Our Public Works Department is going to put concrete blocks to keep the cars from pulling too far forward, to keep that pathway open.
Interesting.
And they'll just be there for the period where the outdoor dining is allowed. I think it's through October. And then when they take their fence down, we'll take those back out.
And obviously that's only going to be a few spots.
Yeah, just so that pathway remains open. But it's just one of those things that you don't think about when you're like, okay, well, from the curb, when the car pulls up and its tire touches the curb, the front of the car takes, could be over a foot.
Right.
So we want to leave that pathway open. And these are just those little tweaks
and that just proves why you can't regulate morality.
Exactly.
Actually, I don't. Anyway, I hear Dennis Ramundi in the background. Anything else, Michael?
That's it.
Well, thank you so much. Michael Halley, 4th Ward City Council, also in the house. Mr. Jason Strong, Fairfield Media Center. And that'll do it for today's City Business. Thank you so much for tuning in to KRUU-FM. We had a nice donation this week, very timely, and thank you very much for those of you that appreciate community radio, now in our second decade of broadcasting. And we'll be back with more great programming in just a moment. Don't you touch that dial.